Right, let's get into some Q&A. I've plucked a few out before we have a couple of songs, and then there's a sub-intel and then a main intel this week. Being that American people have been so dumbed down by fluoride poisoning since 1945, why can't the Trust launch a public awareness campaign to eliminate fluoride in drinking water? All the anti-fluoride facts are supported by the EPA. You're kind of misunderstanding what the Trust is about or what it entails. Essentially what you're asking for is, or need to be asking for is the alt media. It's the alt media's role to highlight that, not the Trust. You know, we could do, if the funding is out, there's a lot we can do. But the funding is being blocked because they know we're going to make changes with it, big time. Given that Facebook, Libra, cryptocurrency is such a threat to fluoride, dumbed down, uneducated youth in America, why can't the Trust forgive all the enslaved student loan program? The American people and children haven't had a chance coming out of the chute. Well, as stated several times in several shows, we have addressed and highlighted this to the government, the need and desire to fix this program. And we are waiting. It may be better to contact your local government and ask them why they haven't acted upon it yet. Since the elites go through their Gulen schools, educate their children in charter schools, why can't the Trust set up schools of enlightenment, teaching humanities, creativity and trades to the young, and also include parent education with engagement between races to end racism? Well, again, like I've stated several times, we have tried to set up new schools, hospitals, cancer cure centres and various other projects, but continue to be blocked. We have thousands, tens of thousands of detailed plans for everything you can imagine. And yet, until others act right, this will be blocked to us. That is their program, not ours. Final question of what the Trust should be doing. Why can't the Trust set up the people's banks like what was done by the blacks in Greenwood, Tulsa, Oklahoma? Again, as mentioned several times, we have tried everything possible from our end. It needs the balls of some others to grow. Aka, grow a set. You know, I don't think these sets of questions has been thought through too well, particularly if you've been listening to the shows. You know, no one is more frustrated than we are for things not rolling out. We've done years of work to get things pushed forward, and we wait on others. We cannot do everything. We're not in control of everything. Others have to do their part, but we are not the problem. So, next question. So, whom or how does the other targeting work? Well, all in alt media are potential targets. Why? Because we have dared to question the system, and their narrative is why. You know, Kim and I, as posted, this was mentioned in a longer letter. I've took that piece out. Kim and I are more targeted because not only do we not question the system, we have actively participated in part destroying it, and certainly destroying the narrative by outing the control system. You see, they want every one of us kept in the dark, And this show and Kim's work has brought it all into the light. I suspect the value of our work will not be realised until much later. If we were the first wave, I was born in the late 60s. No, that was not the first wave, that was the second. You said a mistake was made as we got no support help. Yeah, because of certain technology, we ended up being pushed into vessels that were not conducive from a parental aspect. It's a common theme, even listening to An Evening with Thomas. So many who are slightly different ended up with parents who were abusive or not fully supportive. It's a common theme. Was the mistake ours, sources, or the source reality people who sent us? Neither. On all three. It was clown technology. As for where do we come from, source reality or another plane, planet, something else, you stated my soul would feel better knowing where home is. Only you need to know that, and no one can really tell you where you came from. That's your answer to find out. During meditation, I ran across what could only be described as a circular white portal that I could pass through. The other side was full of beasties. When I stepped back through the portal, I could not pass. I don't know what action to take. Try and deal with the beasties or leave it alone. Don't engage. Don't engage. And remember, portals are technology of which they control, mainly. Once you learn to sidestep the astral, you don't need portals or wormholes. A lot of these beasties, as you said, or the jinns in particular, are not real currently, because so many of them got deleted. They're using VI technology to present them to people. But if you stand in your own sovereignty and go, you're not real, go away, suddenly they vanish. Then you know. You know, only engage if you have to, is what I'm saying. On one of your latest shows, you mentioned doing yoga is not a good idea. That's not what I said. Because all of the chakras are opened up. Now, yoga is fine. The warning was not that yoga is not a good idea. The warning is that too few people who do yoga don't know how to shield beforehand. The shielding is imperative. You are opening up channels, and it's another form or another way of people becoming possessed. There's a lot of this in, when you look at it, the New Age yoga is kind of wrapped into that program, and the ayahuasca and the pot and all that stuff. And all three of them are ways of humans being possessed. But yoga itself, in and of itself, is fine. Unfortunately, Alan of Circle of White Light, interviewed a yoga expert and mentioned this very piece, which didn't go down too well. it kind of, she went rather defensive on it. But she's an expert on how to use yoga, or the discipline of yoga. So rather than taking the new evidence on board or looking at it, she completely dismissed it because she's an expert. You can only be an expert on what you've been taught, and most of us have been taught little. And this is the problem, that probably 99% of people who do yoga have no idea of what they're doing and how they're opening up all the channels. And if you open up the channel, then you might just end up with an entity within it, and they're not easy to get rid of. There's very few people, sadly, who can deal with those type of situations. Is it okay to ask which non-humans are friendly or benevolent to humans? Well, technically all of them. But technically all of them aren't either. It's like every other group. There's good and bad in all of them. Is Zep Tepi connected to the Kali Ma, and is there a connection to the southern part of Africa where name is related to Jerusalem and African Palestinians? This is like the Bible and their story, when fake gods and angels ruled the world and enslaved humans. That's essentially what that is. Now the second part is like what you mentioned about Africa, is likely Ethiopia. Why? Because that was the scene of the fourth Garden of Eden of the sub-grey race. Is Anu dead or alive or forced off planet? Dead. Who funds the chemtrail spraying? SSP. Do you know what's going on with Merkel shaking like a leaf? I think she's got Anne syndrome. I don't know what's going on with that. Maybe her bot is breaking down, who knows? And really, does anybody care? If there are 39 species under our feet, how many of these are on the Galactic Council? All of them. Final question. What is the deeper background information on the war at the Falkland Islands of Argentina in 1982? A vast hidden treasure trove of mainly gold hidden in vaults underneath the island, dating back many, many years, is what it was all about. And the gold was being, that particular gold, which is now all gone and not in their control, it was going to be leveraged to the Bank of America, that particular gold vault. And the other gold vault that was hidden in Cuba started the Bay of Pigs War, or incident. And that gold was being leveraged by the Bank of Canada. It's all about the money, you see.